Hello everybody, this is Rockhound, and I've had a lot of people asking me on my channel about my Ender Farm and about how you go about building one and what's required, how does it work. So I thought I'd do a tutorial today on building an Ender Farm from the very beginning all the way to the end. Let me start by saying that this is not my design. I've seen a lot of different Ender Farm builds on various YouTubers, Let's Plays, and other tutorials and stuff. So this is again just probably a rehashing of some of the info that's already out there. But in case you haven't seen it, here it is again. To begin with, I am in the end. There's really not an efficient way to build an Enderman farm in your main world. I mean, if you're trying to save up the Ender Pearls to get Eyes of Ender to get to the end and fight the dragon, I'd recommend just going out at night, killing a few with a sword that has looting on it, and try to build up a supply of that way of the Ender Pearls. So this is the platform that you spawn into the end on when you go through an end portal. I'm standing here by it just because I wanted to say, make sure you don't store. You'll have to build up a pretty good supply of blocks when you're going to be building an Ender Farm, and it's tempting to be like, oh, I'm just going to build put a couple chests right here on this platform. It's obsidian. Well, this platform is totally erased and cleared out every time you go through that end portal. So if you put anything on here, the next time when you come through the end portal from your main world, that stuff will be gone. So don't build or store anything on this little obsidian platform. Alright, so the first step in building one of these is to take advantage of some of the spawning rules that exist in Minecraft, and also take advantage of the fact that the end is really just one big island in the void here. So this is kind of the first step in what you want to do. You want to get a bucket of water, pour off the side, and slowly build your pillar all the way down here to, if you look at your debug screen, what is it? Fifth line up from the bottom, the Y, I'm currently at 1, which is the very bottom. Right there is the void, one block down. In my survival world, and what I'd actually recommend you do is probably build it maybe 4 or 5 or 6, somewhere in there. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to build up and down if you need to adjust heights. If you build your Ender Farm accidentally one too short, it's a lot easier to just be able to go down one block on the bottom than it is to rebuild the entire thing up one more level. So leave yourself a little bit of space, and the only reason that you build this far down is because you can then take advantage of the full height of the map to build your spawning platforms. That's the main reason why everybody either has a big ladder, or on my Let's Play I've got a big sloping minecart track that goes out to the farm. So the other thing that we're going to take advantage of is that in Minecraft, if you get over 128 blocks away from any mob, any hostile mob, they immediately despawn. So you've got this long path all the way out here to nothing. And the idea is that if you go out far enough away from that island, that's the end there, you know, where I've killed the dragon, and you go over 128 blocks, probably make it out 150 just to be sure. That means now all of the mobs on that island have despawned. So the only ones here are these guys that are waiting to chat with me on on the platform here, because I didn't light it up well enough before I left. But you can see, because they have no other valid spawning points, if I just stand over here, which is just out of the range of this, that platform is very quickly going to just fill up with those guys. And that's why the farms are built way out on that path in all the Let's Play videos you see. So, let's talk a little bit about Endermen, just in case you don't know. They're 3 blocks high, which gives you the ability to hide under in a 2-block area. They can't get to you. That's important for what we're going to build. They're not hostile unless you look directly at them or at their... Is it their chest anymore? No, it's their face. It used to be their chest, but now it's their face. I can even actually bump into them. They don't get aggressive unless I... Oh, I'm in creative mode. So they're not going to do anything in creative mode. But, yeah, if you look right at them, they become aggressive. That's important to know when you're building this, that they can teleport to you. That's a really important thing to know. Oh, he just dove off the edge. The other important thing to know is that you can't hit an Enderman with an arrow or a throw-in potion of any kind. They immediately teleport away and they don't take damage. So I've tried. I had hoped to group them all together, hit them with some kind of splash potion, and kill a big group of them like you can do with Blaze, but it doesn't work. Any throw-in or projectile weapon won't hit them. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can't push them around with water, because as soon as they come into contact with water at all, they'll take damage and they'll teleport away immediately. So unlike other mob farms, you can't push them around with water. You have to rely on mechanical movement to get them to go where you want. So that brings us to the next part, the mechanisms that we're going to use to push them into the fall trap. So there's going to be a spawner area. I was measuring some height stuff up there. Ignore that. There's going to be a spawning area at top, and then what essentially is our damage grinder is going to be a fall trap. So we need to push them off somehow. Oh, yeah, I'm glad I'm in creative mode. And I've got some stuff here, and I'll talk about. There's a few different ways that we can build these spawning platforms that they're going to spawn on and get pushed off into the damage grinder. The first is, let's see, the one that I use for all my Ender farms. It uses some resources. So you have the base that they're going to spawn on that has pressure plates on it, like this. They will actually spawn on these pressure plates, so that's okay. You don't need to worry about that. Behind that, you've got redstone torches. When they step on the pressure plate, that torch will go off because it's on the side of the block. On top of those torches, those redstone torches, you have another block, and then in the back of those, you have another redstone torch. So this redstone torch is on. It powers this block, which turns this torch off. On top of that torch, you have sticky pistons. And you see they get pushed out if you step on that. So those have to have a block on top of them. And so they'll spawn there, immediately get pushed off. Spawn, get pushed off. So that's the idea behind that. Now there's another way I've seen these built with very same principle. You got a block with a pressure plate on top. Redstone torch on the back, but this time we're going to again put the block, same thing. Block is powered, now it's not powered. Instead of the redstone on the torch on the back, you can put the redstone torch on top. Now that one goes off unless you're standing on it, and then on top of that you can put a regular piston. I'm flying, so it's a little bit easier. I always put the pressure plates on last when I build this, and you'll see that later. But see, so the idea here is Endermen are 3 blocks tall. So that's 1, 2, 3. This will push them off you can work on it relatively safely. The only trouble I find is that some people like this way because it's safer to work on. I like this way because it's a solid block that is pushing them in, and I've had a lot of trouble lately with Endermen getting stuck up here behind the piston, and then just being stuck there and not being able to go anywhere. So I like this one. I have seen, let me get rid of these. I have also seen lately a way to do this with these tripwire hooks and string, like so. And then let me think about how this was set up. So you've got just one trip mechanism there, and then you could either do it with this one. You can actually do it with regular pistons, or if it's configured correctly, with sticky pistons as well. But the idea is you take the redstone signal from the tripwire hooks and connect it to the pistons. See, there's me being stuck behind those pistons just like the Endermen get. But basically they spawn, get pushed off, pushed off, pushed off. That makes the whole thing go at one time. I don't like this because if it glitches out like it did for me the first time and you get stuck, the whole row of that spawner level is deactivated until that Enderman despawns. So we're going to go with the first method I showed. And let's talk about, so we could probably damage Endermen with, we could probably damage them with piston suffocation, but fall damage is the most consistent at this point, and there's plenty of room here from 1 all the way up to 255 that we can build, which is more than enough space to get a farm that is super efficient. So I'm going to, I don't know whether I'll take this all the way up to full functionality or not, but let me let's see. So first of all, this platform, we're going to make the spawning chamber and the fall trap so where it's too wide by 15 long, and I left myself a 2 block wide walkway. I should have probably made it out of different blocks all the way around it. So they're going to fall down, and so in that walkway you can make yourself a nice little safe zone here, like so. That's 2 blocks tall. You can walk all the way around this, and Endermen will not be able to get to you. You can stand there all day, they can be mad at you and try to get to you, and they can't because they're 3 blocks tall. You see a lot of these Ender farms and a lot of stuff built in the end with snow. And I think the reason for that is, the reason I did it is because you can farm a lot of blocks of snow really quickly. If you have a little snow generator, there's a lot of tutorials out on the internet about how to make those. If you need to see how one of those works, let me know. I might make a tutorial of that. But you can create a lot of snow blocks really quickly. The other thing about using snow is that it is a nice bright contrast to the black of the end and the Enderman. So you can see them really well against the snow as a backdrop. Now, so the question is, of course, how far do they have to fall to take the right amount of damage? And that's really easy to figure out for any of the mobs in Minecraft. Things in Minecraft, you don't take fall damage for the first 3 blocks you fall. And you can go out on the wiki and find out what the life of any mob is. Endermen have 40 life, so we want to leave them with 1. So you just take their life, you add 2, and that's the height that they need to fall to be left with 1 life, so you can punch them once and they'll die. So we want to be 42 up from the bottom, which is 1. And see, this is where it gets a little tricky, because if I went up to 42, then they're actually only falling 41. It gets really kind of like, how exactly am I going to figure out the height that I need to go up? And the way I like to do it is to open my inventory up and make sure I've got the right number of ladders right there with me, and then I can put them starting at the bottom. Of course, I'm in creative, so it won't matter, but that's not a good example, I'm sorry. But if you start out, I'm assuming you're going to be in survival. If you start out with 41 ladders, you build all the way up to until you have 0. That's the exact height that they'll need to fall. So you'll want to go up that far. Now they're going to be falling down the center part here, and things do tend to move around as they're falling a little bit. So some of the Endermen will move toward the center when they're in the spawning chambers, and they'll fall, and they won't hit the... We're going to put vines in to slow them down, and you'll get some that die from taking too much fall damage. What you don't want them is to get about halfway down and end up moving over till they land on here, or getting somewhere where they're not going to fall the full distance. So up the whole... For the full fall chamber, what you want to do is make rings that are spaced at the most 2 blocks apart. I mean, you could make it a solid fall chamber if you wanted. It depends on how you want it to look. But if there's 2 spaces between them, you can save resources, and you can watch them. It looks pretty cool to see them falling through there. So you'll just have to do that all the way up, just like so. It's a little trickier, obviously, in survival. You'll have to build up the ladder. I recommend not taking up all of your resources with you at one time, because you'll probably fall more than once during this, and it's really a bummer when you lose a ton of resources because you fell into the void, and there's no way to get them back. So we will just continue up like this. And this obviously is going to take a while to get all the way up to the correct height. So I will be back in a moment. Here's an important note to remember while you're working on this farm. Make sure you light everything up with torches, because, like I said, this is the only spawning area that you have available, and if I got up this high, I was building my ladder up this high, suddenly that whole thing is just swarming with Endermen, and it's going to be really tricky to get down there and get them all cleared out while you're building. So just remember to light everything up really well, or it will come back to bite you. Okay, I'm at the right height. I'm going to save myself a little bit of time, and I'm not going to fill in the gaps, but that's the spacing that it should look like, and those bars should go all the way around. I'm going to leave them like that for now. What you want at this point is to get a bunch of buttons and a bunch of vines. Now I think this really should take, if this is 15 by 2, it should take 30 of each. So you get here, this is the correct height for them to fall from. But if you think about it, we're going to make lots of layers of spawning chambers above this. So if the ones at the top fell, and they fell this whole way, that's going to be added to the height of this. And of course, anything above this level is going to die, because this is the perfect height for them to fall from with taking their 39 points of damage. So we're going to go around. We're going to add buttons to this, which seems kind of weird at first, but the buttons do not slow the Enderman down. What they do is act as a platform for the next layer, which you build right on top of that, just like so. And then you go back in, and you know what I'm going to say, you put in vines. The buttons are what keep the vines from spreading down beyond this point. If you didn't have those, they'd get all the way down, muck up the whole works, everything would be broken. You'd have a bad day. So, that's what the buttons are for. And that is basically, the one here is basically the same as that one, so it's just a visual difference. It wouldn't go down any farther. You can't put, if the button's taking up this space, you can't put one here because it's the same block. Okay, now, if something fell in this now from way up here, let's see if I can be an example. See how I slowed down? That slows down to basically the critical point where they're no longer taking fall damage until they get past that point. So we are ready to put in the first layer of the spawning chamber. So I'm going to put blocks up here. It's going to be just on the sides, not on the ends, and there's going to be, I'm going to do this just like I was doing it in survival, so that you can get an idea of how it is I work through this. You've got torches, you've got sticky pistons, you've got your supply of snow blocks, or whatever else you're building the farm out of, and you'll need, for each layer, and you're going to build a lot of them, as much as you have resources for, you need 30 pistons, 30 stone pressure plates. You can use wooden ones. However, if you're dropping stuff, a block now and again while you're building, the wooden pressure plates will be activated by like blocks. The stone ones are only activated by mobs. So you'll need 30 pistons, 30 pressure plates, 60 redstone torches. And am I thinking of anything else? You need a bunch of blocks, obviously. So this is where the pressure plates are going to go in the first course of this. So you'll want to go through, put redstone torches on the back. I'm just holding shift and going, just like so. And then you go back, you put blocks on top of those. Again, I'm doing this just like I did in survival on my Let's Play world. You just make sure you have a ladder up here and just keep going. So there's that. Make sure you fill in all these spaces, because we're going to go up farther than this. Okay, then on the back of those, you put on more redstone torches. I recommend probably, I don't remember how many blocks it takes, but I'd recommend only bringing up enough supplies to do one layer at a time. That way if you fall and die, it's not a huge catastrophe. Okay, then you go along on those redstone torches, you put your sticky pistons, just like so. And then you go back and you fill that all in with the blocks that you're building out of. And you can leave yourself a little bit of a space to jump up here. Excuse me. One of the blocks I forgot to tell you that you need. For each layer, you will also need 30 slabs of some kind. And what you use those for is on this row of pistons, Endermen. This is going to be a possible spawning zone for Endermen, and you don't want them back here. So if you just throw down some slabs on top of those pistons, it'll stop any spawning. And then you also remember Endermen are 3 tall, so before the next layer we want to put down another block. So now they have a 3 tall area. I'll break that one for a second. A 3 tall area for them to spawn onto these pressure plates that you're going to add on next. So then you go back in here, add in your pressure plates, being very careful. I'd probably do the whole thing at one time, put them on both sides. As you go back, you work your way back to here, put those on. Now you've never had to mess around with walking around where those are. So, and this probably, where did my, yeah, you gotta be careful. This is where my ladders, I've been flying around, so my ladders aren't here. So that's where my ladders would go. And I just keep building my way up. Actually, yeah, in this farm that's where they would go, but I'd probably place them differently if I was building my actual one. So let me go through again really quick. You can watch. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to zoom through really quick and build this other side while I'm flying. And then we'll go down and we'll test out the functionality of this. Yep. Torch on the back, blocks on top. And you can do it like that. Alright, and then torches on the back of that. And sticky pistons on those torches. On my original EnderFarm in my Let's Play world, in case somebody's wondering, thinking I had showed something different, I had tried a new method of basically compacting all of the Endermen down into a single spot for them to fall. And I think it's still a good idea, but in practice it didn't work out that well because something with the game prevents you from killing them as quickly when they're all stacked up like that. I think it has to do with the fact that when they die, they're still there for a little while, and their hitbox isn't like cleared out. So with this type of farm ended up being much more efficient as far as running back and forth and killing Endermen and how fast you could gain levels. So I've also seen on some Let's Plays and stuff people putting an optional platform down here that raises and lowers to whether you want it to be just an EXP farm or be an experience farm or just an Ender Pearl Farm, and I have to say that I think is probably a waste of time, because you get Ender Pearls so quickly from this that there's really not much point in doing that, because why not get the experience, you know? I'm going to turn it back on normal. I was on peaceful mode, yes, just to make things a little bit easier. If this was going to be my top layer, my very top layer, I would go through and I would put stone slabs along the top of this as well, just to prevent any spawning in bad areas. And let's see. Now this isn't going to be a super fast farm, because obviously there's only one layer. I'm going to come back and show you how to add. Didn't light it up, so I can't really. That's not a good example, but all right. Now let's turn it on. Just see what it looks like with one layer. Come on, you can do it. See, there's not that much available spawning spot with just one of those. That's why you have to do a whole bunch of them. There goes a guy. See, he gets knocked down. Anybody else? Come on, you can do it. You can do it. There goes another one. Boom. So these guys, if I come up here, should be a single punch. And they're not dropping anything, because why not? Do mobs not drop stuff when I'm in creative? No, they're just being a little stingy. So now, let's go up and look at how we go about adding on another layer. And then I think we should be about done. You just keep building up all the way to the top. And the nice thing about this is when mobs get outside of a range, let me look at my papers. When mobs get outside of 32 blocks away from you, they don't move by themselves. The nice thing about this type of trap is they don't have to. They just have to spawn, and the mechanisms of the trap actually take care of all the rest of it for you. So you don't have to rely on them walking off of the edge of something to get pushed into the fall trap. The Pistons take care of that. So in theory, you could go up to 128 blocks away, really. So now we're ready to add on the next layer. What do we do here? Well, same thing. Let's start here. But what you don't want to do is put the pressure plates on this block, because stuff will start getting confused really quickly. So you need to make sure you leave this block here, come in one, and go back here like this. And you can leave that two wide space, build the other side at the same time. Or if you're in creative mode, don't be in creative mode. Alright, here we go. Easy peasy. No problems. So this is the row that we're going to put our pressure plates on. So then you just go behind that row. No. Put your redstone torches on the back. This is really nice because you don't have to. I think the first example I did, I went through and I placed them all on top of the torches like this. But if you're watching when I was flying around for that second side, you really just have to go like this. And make sure you have a block behind you. That's why you don't take up any of your too many of your resources at one time. Same thing, torches behind that block. Build this across. Blocks on top of those torches. Then redstone torches on the back of those that we just put there. This does, especially if you're doing this the first time, it can be frustrating, and it can be confusing about where the torches go to get it to work. Just go back, pause the video, do it one step at a time. It makes sense after just a little while, so don't get discouraged if it's confusing. Sticky pistons, which I have to say are much, much easier to get now that slimes spawn in swamps at night. Before you could build an ender farm, you had to build a slime farm, which I've built many slime farms, and I probably won't ever do it again now that they actual spawn as regular overworld mobs. Instead of down in the bizarre slime chunk setup they had before. I still have never figured out why on earth that would be. I guess they did that probably to make them a rare occurrence in your world. Like, wow, look at slime, which that's the way it used to be. But to then require those for something as common as a sticky piston was just kind of frustrating. Okay, slabs. Again, these are just to prevent them from spawning in an area where you don't want them. Ooh. Made a little pillar there. I try to do the thing where you move and hold the mouse button down, but the way I learned to play was just click, click, click on each spot. And it's hard to, I know it's more efficient the other way. Look at all those guys down there. I would love it if they could make some way to do an area effect on a bunch of Endermen at one time, but this is kinds of adds to the charm of them. Looks like it works okay. Turn on peaceful for 1 second, get rid of these guys. Alright, now we've got 2 rows up there. Should see quite a few more. There we go. You can see just adding that other layer has already made a difference. I think on mine, how many layers have I built in my survival world? I think I've got 6 or 7 layers, maybe more. Every time I get enough resources I go and I add one. I'm pretty close to the point where I can't outpace it. You know, you get up to level 30, you go enchant something, you come back, and there's already enough guys that they will take you, excuse me, take you up to level 30 again. And you just run back and forth, and you hit these guys. Make sure you have plenty of food when you do that, because you will starve really quick when you're grinding a bunch of these guys. I use a bunch of rotten flesh from my other mob farm. There you go. You can see it's already working. Just keep adding layers. Make sure this is filled in so they can't, because otherwise they do this. they'll spawn here or they'll fall and they'll land here. That's why you don't. That's why you have to have these filled in. Just with it. Yeah, see, there was one that fell on it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why you need it. Just like so, because otherwise they'll move over. Anything else to talk about? I think that's it. That's those are the steps to building a successful Ender farm. And if you have any questions, let me know. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.